Hello class, we're going to continue with lists, and in this example we're going to continue with iteration through a list. Here we create another variable called cheeses. We give it a list of our 3 cheeses. Leverage another for loop. For each item in my range being the length of cheeses, which would be 3, cheeses item print cheeses item times 2, and we go ahead and print a new line at the end, but this is what we're going to put out right here. So we receive cheddar cheddar, badam badam, gouda gouda. In this example you could nest other previous functions that we learned about up to lesson 6. So here we're going back, we're using range and length and combine them on a list to create a more efficient loop. And we can also use operators. Like all the operators we've learned, this one is the addition. So we create a list and a B list just with integers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We create a C list by adding A and B together, and then we print C, and we see that it adds A and B together. Multiplication works as well. We can create a list with an item being a 0, the integer 0. Multiply that by 4 and print it. You see that we get 4 of the same items, 4 zeros, 4 integers. And here we have a list with 1, 2, 3, and we multiply it by 3. And you see that we have a list with 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you could have duplicate items in a list. There's nothing wrong with that. Python allows it and list allows it. Because this one would be integer 1 and index 0. And this one would be integer 1 and index 3. So keep that in mind. They're not sharing the same space or position in the list. They are indeed integers in a different index in the same list. So we could do the in operator. This is a handy one. So once again we create our list of cheeses. We print them and we get them all right here. And now we print Gouda in cheeses, and we receive the Boolean operator of true back. So in is pretty powerful because it allows you to cycle through a list and validate if a value is there. Now if the value is there more than once, it'll say true the minute it hits the first value. So if Gouda was in there twice, it would stop at the first one and say true. We also have the slice operator. Print operator slice, that's just this beginning title right here. We create a list with the T variable, A through F, and now we start using our slicing methods that we learned about in lesson 5 with strings. We call on T 1 through 3. So we have index 0, 1, 2, stop at 3, so it should print out B and C. We get that right there. And here we tell it to stop at 4, so we should get A through D. We get that there. Start at 3, index of 3, 0, 1, 2, 3 should start at D and go to the end. And it does. And then we give it a slice with nothing on either side, a null slice, which basically just means print everything. And we receive that right here. And then here, moving right along with more slicing, we create the variable of T with our list A through F, and we say T started at index 1 and going to 3, so B and C will now equal X and Y. And then we go ahead and print that, and we see that we've replaced the values of B and C with X and Y. I'll pull up the screen. And now we're going to move on to list methods. Just like strings, a lot of the similar methods that apply to strings apply to lists. Here we have append. And append simply adds the item to the last indice or the first open indice of the list. So here we have T, or variable, A through C, and we say T append with D, and then we print the list, and D should be at the end. Now there's also an extend. Extend, you see we create two lists, and we say call on our first list T1.extend, and we're going to extend it with T2, and then we're going to print it. And you see that the second list of D and E are added to our first list, and when we print it, we receive A through E. Sort. The sort method, you see here we create a list with mixed up A through E, all different indices. We tell it to sort and then print, and then you see that sort does exactly what it's designed to do and sorts them alphabetically. Now we also have a sort reverse. So you could say T dash sort reverse equals true, and here we didn't print that, but I'll go ahead and print it. Here's our sort reversed, and here's our list printed right here after we did the list.sort reverse equals true. So we're able to sort a list forwards and backwards. Sort on its own does high to low or alphabetically, and sort with reverse equals true does the opposite. And here's more of reverse. B, C, E, B, A. Then we just call on reverse. I don't think we print it though. This would just print this A through D. And we're going to move on to deletion. So there's a couple different ways to remove objects or delete objects from a list. And the first method we're going to talk about is pop. Pop works if you left this with no argument. If you remove the 1, pop would remove the last object. So if we remove the 1 and ran this, it would remove E from this list. Now if you know the indice of the item you want to remove or pop, you call on the indice of 1. In this case, we're calling on T equals A through E, X equals pop 1. So indice of B, we print the full list, which is A through E, and in X, we called on the list and we popped indice 1, which is B, and we stored B in X, and down here we call on X, and we see that we removed it from the list and stored it in a separate variable. Pretty handy. And here's remove is a bit different. Remove will actually go through the list and match strings and then remove those strings from the list. And in this case, we create a new list, A through E. We call on X and we say list of T, the method remove, and we give it the string of B. So it should remove B. And we go to print T, the list, and you see that B indeed is removed. Very handy method if you don't know the indice. So you have two different ways to remove objects. If you know the indice location, you can call it by the indice number or by the string itself. Let's do this one. And there's also a delete function or method within Python that you could use on an array of different objects. And here we create our list, A through E, run the delete function on our list into C1, so it should remove B or delete B. And then we print T, and we have our list with B removed by leveraging the delete function. Now we can also delete more than one element at a time with a slice. This is pretty handy if you don't want the last 3 indices of a list, or you want to keep certain indices. Once again, we create our list, A through E, square brackets, each one's a string. We delete T, start at 0, stop at 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Stop at 6. It's going to keep going, but it's going to stop at 4 because there's only 5 items. Then we go ahead and print T, and we see that T is now an empty list. So that concludes this video of working with some different for loops on lists, as well as methods of lists, and a couple built-in functions such as delete. And the next video will be coming up shortly.